Today I've got Court Pitcher from Legacy Lock as our guest, and Court is a really a legacy planning expert, is what I like to call him. And today we're just going to talk about estate planning a little bit, and do you have an estate plan or that you control, or does the government control it? And that kind of goes into the very first question that I'm going to ask you, Court, is, I've heard you say it many times. Everyone has an estate plan. It's just a matter of who controls it. So what do you mean by that when you say that? And maybe just speak to that a little bit.
Sure, happy to. Thanks. First of all, thanks for inviting me to be a part of this. This is great. Hopefully we can communicate some valuable things to your audience here. So everybody has an estate plan, whether they know it or not. So if people don't do any planning at all, then they're simply inviting the government, to get involved in their estate when they pass away. One option is to do a simple will, where they spell out their wishes on what they want to have happen. Which allows them to set up guardians for minor children and kind of lay out what they would want to have happen in the event they pass away or when they pass away.
Okay.
But if they do a will and trust, which is what, we provide, like a full comprehensive estate planning document package. There's the will component where they're spelling out their wishes. But then there's the trust, which is an entity. A trust is an entity, much like an LLC. And as long as assets are properly structured within the trust, we call it funding the trust, which just means to move or transfer assets in the trust. Then those assets are protected from the government, specifically the probate courts, when they die. So it just makes it so much easier for the family to, settle the estate and carry out the wishes that have been outlined by having that trust component in place as well.
Okay. So let's just say someone who has children, owns a home, maybe has some life insurance, some different assets and stuff. Let's just say they have a basic will that they've typed up, and they have it there for the kids, to know what the next wishes are.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next in that scenario? Say if they were to pass away, say a couple were to pass away without a trust. Maybe give the scenario of with a trust and without a trust, and kind of what that looks like.
Okay. But you're saying all they have is a will?
Yeah. So okay. First scenario, all they have is just a basic last will and testament.
Right. So that's better than doing nothing, right? If they don't do anything, then and if they don't do anything and they have minor children, then the state's going to get involved and essentially take the children, and then surviving family members are going to have to hire an attorney and go through a process of getting custody of the children. So if they do have a will, that's a much better thing to have than not doing anything at all. So with a will, that'll still spell out their wishes of who they would want the kids to go to and so forth, and that would be upheld. However, whatever assets they have, home, money in bank accounts, things like that, even life insurance, those assets will likely still have to go through the probate courts because all they have is a will. The only way to bypass probate is to have a trust and make sure that those assets are properly structured in the trust. So that's why it's important when they're doing their estate planning that that they have that last will and testament component in place, but also have the trust to be able to help protect those assets from going through probate.
Okay. All right. And so when you think of someone that should or should not have a trust, because we hear a lot of times people talk about only the wealthy people have trusts, and like, oh, well, I don't have millions and millions of dollars. I'm not this multimillionaire. Why would I want a trust?
Right.
I've heard people talk about that. Oh yeah, that's for wealthy people. So because obviously it's not everybody should, but when is it kind of, hey, you should probably just have a will, and then when is it like, okay, now it's time to get a trust in force and funded properly?
Right. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
How are
Sorry,
you?
jumping in the middle here.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah. So that the answer to that's pretty easy. I tell people all the time, if you have children, you own a home, have decent amount of equity in the home, you have money in the bank, retirement accounts, life insurance, you really should get a comprehensive estate planning document package in place, which includes the will, it includes the trust, it includes financial power of attorney, medical power of attorney, advanced healthcare directives. All of those key things need to be put in place and established. And so, if they have children, if they own a home, have decent equity in the home, money in bank accounts, retirement accounts, life insurance, they really should, go to work and start setting that up. What we've found is for younger clients that maybe have, some children, minor children, the biggest thing that they want to protect is their children, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
the worst case scenario were to happen and, both mom and dad pass away unexpectedly, they want to make sure that they have guardians appointed, so that they're choosing who their children go to and who takes care of them. But then it's also important to have, adequate assets to be able to take care of those children, right? And so that the guardians that take over their care have the means to continue to provide for them. So that's where life insurance becomes, a key thing in that planning, to make sure that they have adequate assets and funds to be able to continue to care for the kids. We found that older clients, guardianship isn't as big a deal because,
Mhm.
usually at that point their kids have become adults and moved on in their life. But what's more important to them is they don't want to be a burden, to their children when they pass away. They don't want their children to have to go through the probate process. They don't want them to have to hire an attorney and go through all that stuff. And so for them, protecting their estate from probate is an even bigger deal than I would say, for younger clients. So that's what we can help them do.
Gotcha. And you've personally seen some of those scenarios kind of play out, haven't you? I think I've heard you talk about it a few times. Maybe just speak to that a little bit. I know you've got a few stories that would be good for people just to hear, because most of us, especially younger people, we're like, I mean, come on, we're not going to die anytime soon, and we're probably definitely not going to die at the same time as our spouse, so that's pretty rare that would happen. But I know you've seen some of that stuff happen, so maybe can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's normal for us to think that we're going to live a long life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of natural to think that, but you just never know what can happen. I mean, life can change just like that. And that's actually what got me in this business, and it's what led to us creating Legacy Lock. Back in 2005, I had two good friends pass away within a month of each other. Both situations were very unexpected, and it was sad, really sad time for both families. Both of them were married, had minor children. One of the friends had not done any planning at all, so it kind of left his wife in a difficult situation. The other friend had done a lot of good planning, and so it made things a little bit easier for his wife and family to move forward. So here I was at the time, in my early 30s, married, had a couple minor children myself, and just being close to those situations, it kind of rocked my world. It was a big wake up call for me. And so I went running to a good friend of mine that I knew was in this industry. And I told him what had happened with my friends. And I just said, I haven't done any planning for myself or my family. Where do we start? And that's where he opened up my eyes to what I call legacy planning or holistic planning. And so there was a point in his process where he asked me and my wife, do you guys have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you have powers of attorney and those and advanced directives? And we said, no, we don't have any of that. And so he referred us to an attorney. We went and met with that attorney, and he was a great guy. But when we found out how long the process was going to take and how much it was going to cost, we decided to hold off. Well, then fast forward, I actually get into the business, start meeting with clients, and I'm taking them through the same process that I went through with my friend. And every time I would talk to a client about estate planning, most of the time the response was, hey, we're glad you're bringing this up. This is something we need to do. We need to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would send them to an attorney, and we would meet 6 months or a year later, and they'd come back and I'd say, I'd kind of go through my checklist, and I'd say, hey, did you meet with the attorney? Did you get this done? And much like myself and my wife, the response was, well, we went and met with the attorney. When we found out how long it was going to take and how much it was going to cost, we decided to hold off. So the more I heard that, the more it bothered me. And I just thought, there's got to be a way that we can help the masses, get this done, get it done quickly and at a good, affordable rate. And so that's what led to us creating Legacy Lock. And that's what we're doing now. Now, we're able to help people all across the country in all 50 states get their estate planning documents done fairly quickly at a nice, affordable rate. And that's something that you guys have been trained on with us, and now you're able to offer it to your clients. So highly recommend anyone who's watching this, whether it's today or later on, get with Ben and Dan, and they can help you with this. So.
Yeah, and I've been through the Legacy Lock process because I wanted to make sure that it was, what court said it was before I started offering it to clients, and went through it. Everything was really smooth. Probably the best part was just the education throughout the whole thing, working with the Legacy Lock team, and also help with getting the trust funded, because, like you said earlier, you can have the trust, but if you don't have the assets where they'll go into the trust, when you pass away, then it's not really doing much for you.
Right.
But it was great just having the team there to help me get through that whole process. And I know Dan's going through the process now to get it all done. And I mean, I think you guys still offer it at a really affordable rate. Just speak to that a little bit. Like, what's all encompassed in that whole Legacy Lock package, and then the price. And then I mean, compared to going to an attorney, I mean, how much are people saving, and how much easier is the process?
Yeah, great question. So we've created a simple 4-step process. Usually entails about 2 to 3 meetings, and thank goodness for technology. We're able to we actually conduct most of our meetings virtually like this with clients. So 4-step process. Like I said, 2 to 3 meetings, but it's pretty simple. We have you fill out a questionnaire, you send back the questionnaire, we then create a Legacy Lock account for the client. We go in and input the data from the questionnaire into the estate planning software, and then we set up a meeting with the client. Go through. That's about a 45-minute to an hour meeting. Go through the software and confirm that the information we put in is correct and accurate, and then we get into some specific questions to set it up according to their situation and their overall objectives and desires. At that point, they pay for the trust. So the maximum amount that they would pay is $1,495. But you guys, as Legacy Lock licensees, have the ability to discount that if you want to. But even at $1,495, it's a huge value because of the legacy planning that we do and everything that we help them put together and put in place. Most firms around the country are going to charge $3,000, $5,000, maybe even $10,000 for the type of planning that we do. Wow. So it's a great value, and again, like you experienced, Ben, it's pretty simple, pretty easy, very educational, and we really pride ourselves in providing a quality experience for clients. We want to make sure that everyone that goes through our process is having a good experience and getting a lot of value, and that they end up in the end way better prepared and with a much better plan than they did before they came into the process.
Mm-hmm. And that I think gives people, I mean, it definitely gives me a good peace of mind knowing that if something ever happened, it's there, it's spelled out. I don't have to worry about, siblings having to fight for my kids going to the wrong place or things like that. So
right.
Yeah, the peace of mind is amazing. Yeah, Dan, what did you have any questions to add to court, or things you wanted to add?
Yeah. How do you guys do it at affordable rate? Is it just scale? You got to see so much volume, or how big's your team? And just talk me on the business side a little bit. How do you guys make that happen? Because, like you said, 3 to 10,000, like you're not going to sit with attorney anywhere for less than 3,000 to get a trust included, in your estate plan. So like you guys obviously did something to stay in business too. So tell me how you're doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. First of all, we don't carry outrageous amount of overhead. So that helps. But then, yes, it is scale. The way that we have built Legacy Lock is we've made it available to financial professionals all over the country. They get licensed and trained by us on how to utilize Legacy Lock, how to take a client through the process from beginning to end and do it well. And so that's how we're doing it. That's how we're scaling it. So it's a volume thing, and we have people all over the country utilizing Legacy Lock and offering it to their clients, taking them through the process, and that's how we built it. So it's working out great.
Yeah, that's cool. I think we just had our last meeting last week, and now we have to actually go transfer some stuff into the trust and do that part. So,
All right.
hopefully my wife is on that, because that stuff is delegated in my office. So, but yeah, it was really, I deal with money and numbers all day, every day. And, it was really refreshing to be on the other side of the table, to have a knowledgeable professional taking us through a seamless step-by-step thing, and engaging with my wife and
Right.
making it simple. So yeah, she walked away with clarity, and she felt good. And really, it wasn't anything I had to think a lot about, really just answer the questions. So yeah, highly recommend. Appreciate you coming on today. And hopefully we can get our clients on board. I got a lot of clients, and this is something we got to kind of push out and get them all taken care of in that aspect.
Well, that's great. I think you'll be able to help a lot of people. And, Ben, you kept touching on those words, peace of mind. We have clients tell us all the time that, once they're finished with the planning with us, that they feel so much more peace of mind. And those are the exact words they use. And they just feel more confident. They know they can sleep better at night. And that's a huge thing. One more thing I might add, that you just kind of, with what you were just saying, Dan, triggered a thought. With my own wife, it's comforting for her to know that we have a plan in place. But every now and then I'll test her, and I'll just say, hey, if something happens to me, where is everything? And, some of the valuable components of our technology is our document vault with unlimited document storage. So all of our estate planning documents, our life insurance policies, our deed to our house, everything is stored in that document vault. So it's comforting for her to know that something happens to me, all she's got to do is log into our Legacy Lock account, and all of those documents are there. And then in our funding kit, we've listed out all of our assets, and so she knows where all our bank accounts are. All of our assets, everything's organized in there, and that's pretty comforting for her. So
yeah, no, that was a cool part too. Now to make sure we get it done. That's on
right.
our homework for the next few weeks here. But
well, if you need any help, we're here. We're here to help.
Perfect.
Well, Court,
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on. Yeah, this was great.
Pleasure.
Hopefully this will get some people to think about that. Like I said, it's going to bring some good peace of mind, and it's a good planning piece. And for the most part, once it's done, there's not a whole lot that has to be done after the fact. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, cool. That's it for today. Appreciate you. And yeah, we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.